What's up, entrepreneurs? It's Kevin Buckner from the Everyday Entrepreneurs. I'm here with my crew.
Calvin Snoop,
Lamar Smith.
And we have a special guest today, which is all about food and Foodie Builders. Felicia Middleton.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here today.
And we'll be right back to talk to her. We're back. So we have Felicia Middleton, Foodie Builders. And I think I'm going to pass this to Calvin Snowden because I think he's got the connection.
I know her the most.
Yes, absolutely. Go for it.
So, interesting enough, Felicia and I celebrated a major milestone for both of our businesses this year.
Nice.
We've done 10 years, and actually we've done 10 years together. She was the first architect I met when I got into the business, and she helped me with daycare design. That was our first time meeting. So I'm really excited to have Felicia here because she's seen my company grow, and I've seen hers where she's made some different progressions where she started with urban aesthetics, and now she's creating a new business called Foodie Builders that she's passionate about, as you can see. So I want to give her the opportunity to kind of talk about all the things she does.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So it's good to be here, everybody.
Thanks for coming.
Good to be here with Lamar, too. I've been trying to meet Lamar for years.
Yes.
But I'm glad to be here. Glad to know these gentlemen. My company is Urban Aesthetics, actually, and that's my parent company. My company's brand is Foodie Builder. Foodie Builder is a restaurant and food facility brand that I have through my company. But Urban Aesthetics is the main company. It's a design and project management company. We do architectural design, interior architecture projects. And basically, I'm moving my company in a different direction, as Calvin has said. It's moving into more of a project management company for urban aesthetics. And the Foodie Builder is a full-service company for design and opening restaurants.
Nice.
Very nice. I think, so for those at home that don't understand, can you talk about some of the things that an architect does and project manager? Like what type of things you would do to help in a project?
So most architects do project management. It's a part of the business. You can't help but do it because what you end up doing is help scheduling, you help with budgeting, you work along with the client to make sure the project gets closed out properly. You work along with the contractors to make sure that they build according to the design that's done. Some people don't want that service, and that's fine. But I always end up doing it whether they want it or not because they always call me and ask me questions.
Nice.
And because I pick up the phone.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, she does pick up the phone between 8 and 5.
Call it at 6. You won't
Monday through Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
So the interesting thing, I know the people that watch our show base is really around entrepreneurship and entrepreneurs. So for those who are looking to get into the restaurant industry, can you talk a little bit about how you help them with the developing of their layout of their restaurant, going through the health department, all these various steps that people may not realize. They just think, hey, I can cook, I want to open a place. Which we do know somebody people who do that.
Calvin and I have had that experience.
Yes, and we're like, wait, what? There's more steps than just that.
You can't just go rent a building and throw some refrigeration in it.
Yeah.
So look, I did a restaurant in my mama's basement, so I know it can be done.
No, but we did actually have a client that we kind of worked along with a little bit.
Don't say their name.
Kind of ended. I don't even remember their names personally, but it kind of ended, and that's the situation. You can't just go get a building and turn it into a restaurant. It's a little bit more involved than that, and there's a lot behind the scenes. There's a lot of paperwork, and I call it administrative work that needs to be done. You need a good real estate agent, number one, to help you find the right building.
Oh, good point. Good point.
You need a great financial, and the right building because of the zoning that might be involved with the building. We won't even get into that. We've experienced that too. But the biggest thing is your budget. You really have to have money to open a restaurant. I remember we were talking about Shark Tank earlier. What's his name? The wonderful guy.
Oh, Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah. He said you should have at least $250,000 to start a restaurant. And he's absolutely right. I mean, not even just that. You need a little bit more than that, really.
Right.
You know, it's just because the equipment alone can cost $100,000, and then when you talk about the building and the finishes and then stock and food, it can be a lot of money to open a restaurant.
Yeah.
Now, is this a sit-down restaurant or is this a takeout? Is it the same?
This
You
is,
think from that standpoint?
I think it's a difference in I think it's still going to be a significant amount of money. There's used equipment you can get. You can buy an existing restaurant and use that, but
Gotcha.
just when you're looking to go into the restaurant business, you really have to do research, and you have to have a good funding source.
Gotcha.
Yes. Okay. I mean, I think Felicia made a point earlier about good real estate agent, but it's very important that you bring the contractor and the architect. I think even when you're coming up with the idea before you have the space. We had a client, really it was Felicia's client, but she gave me the opportunity to bid on the project. Great concept they had, great location. And I asked them just a simple question, when are you guys putting in gas in the building? And they go, wait, what? There's no gas? No, there's no gas in here. And they've signed leases, they've come up with plans, they've got equipment, but they didn't have, that's the critical.
Yeah.
And even
foundational
if you,
steps that need to take place.
right, and even understanding, even if you have gas in the building, you have to then spec the equipment. The gas line might have to be upsized. But there's all these things where people think, great location, I got a building.
Sure.
Felicia says she's not going to touch on it, but even the zoning, you got to go through. It just doesn't happen overnight. So a lot of times the beauty of an architect is they have that knowledge to kind of say, what about this? And they have an extended team. I call Felicia calls me. So it's interesting. I mean, one of the big projects that I was extremely excited for Felicia, she just finished doing stuff at the Boers. The Boers, for those who don't know, is a historic...
used to be a financial exchange.
Yes. And actually, you've worked there so much, you probably can tell the story better than I can. But Felicia, how many food courts did you do now? Seven. So... for me, she's kind of humble about it, but this is game changing. This can take her to the next level because it's a major development, a major project downtown where she made her mark on it. And I was fortunate enough. I just helped out with one. I got to spend some evenings down there when it was empty and really looked at what they created. And I think it was a good experience for her because she got to see all the sides and a lot of working with a large developer and doing different things. But she really, they said she was a godsend down there.
Wow.
Who said that?
I said, wow.
Thank you. I'm just finding this one out.
Karen said, and I quote, man, she needed to charge me more for all this stuff.
I did get told that by several of my clients, and that's some of the things. The experience was great. It was a wonderful time, and my clients were awesome. But I do agree with them. I should have charged more.
That's always the case.
Again, the Foodie Builder brand was something I just created.
Nice.
I've done restaurants the entire time I've had my business, which is 10 years. But I never really branded a specialized service just for restaurants through the business. So when I decided to create the Foodie Builder brand, there was a specific way I wanted to do it. And so I wanted to learn through the process. So I did offer a lot of services that I won't in the future give for free. It was a way for me to learn and know how to build for the future. That's what you do in entrepreneurship.
That's a great point. I just want to make a quick question. I have a comment and then have a question pertaining to that because the public in the audience may not know I have a background and as an environmental health specialist for 10.5 years in the Montgomery County Health Department. So I know, what they're talking about. You know what I mean? It's people have to have a general knowledge and understanding about opening up a restaurant or eating and drinking establishment. It's the location, bringing the right partners, being involved, design, everything, because that's what the job of a regulator. We're looking for that from the jump. This business was closed for a year. Well, you got to submit plans. If it's 6 months or shorter, you may not have to. It all depends on what you're dealing with, whether it's Montgomery County, whether it's Philly, whether it's Bucks, whether it's Chester. So, when you guys, if you are watching this and you do have aspirations of being and owning a restaurant, and hey, this place has been around for 40 years. I'm gonna come in, you buy, you make a deal, but you have to speak to people, professionals who may be able to save you some money because you're not grandfathered in. Your grandfather is passed away. He dead and gone. You know, so you got to be able to go and actually re-up, and you may have to add a sink, add some ceiling tiles, add some flooring, add some floors, walls, and ceilings, whatever is needed, and it has to be the proper materials, and that'll be easily cleanable, smooth non-porous, and easily cleanable. So these are things that I'm glad we're touching on this because it's amazing. I know we're all going to work on some projects in the future pertaining to that because this is a ton of knowledge, especially in that direction. So, and I just want to ask you from a perspective because and congratulations on 10 years, both of you guys.
Thank you.
And it's amazing. And
I think 6 of those 10 we were trying to get in contact.
You and I were trying to connect. I'm moving here.
We here. I'm glad we connected. I really am.
Absolutely, same here. And I just want to ask you from a perspective, and this is real talk, like, you're a woman and pretty much a male-dominated. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. So, like, how, tell us something about some of the challenges and things that you experienced pertaining to that and how you've been able to overcome that because, I know it's still a challenge. It's still a challenge. And a challenge, but 10 years, that's...
It's something that I recognized from the beginning, and I just learned how to deal with it. It can be a challenge, it can be a pain in the neck sometimes. Sometimes it's just, I remember years ago I was at a firm, and I've always been the only woman or the only African-American woman or the only African-American, It's always been like that since college, or even sometimes in high school as well.
Okay.
So I got used to being I took architecture all through high school.
Okay.
So even in my architecture classes, I was the only woman sometimes, or I was the only black, or there was only one other woman. I was always the only black woman. So black, even if there was another woman, I was the only black woman. Mm-hmm. So then when I went into college, it was the same way. Well, the workforce, I've always either been one of one or two women. Very rarely have I worked somewhere where there was more than one black person. And so I got used to being the only something, because and I get along with men very well. I don't have a problem. I'm not a man hater, so I know men. I have a brother. I know men are good people, just like women are good people. Right. So I don't go around bashing men, and I think everybody can get along if you try. I think it's a challenge because in this field, people do talk to you a certain way. Mm-hmm. And I remember for a little while I was working at Home Depot, and the guys that would come in didn't know that I knew all about the plumbing parts, all the little pieces. And I used to do kitchen design. And I remember one time a guy came in, he was a contractor, and he said, he came over, he asked somebody for some help, and they brought him over to me and said, she can help you with that plumbing part. And he was like, oh no, I want a man, I don't want to use a woman. And he walked away. I was like, okay, fine. I kept on doing what I was doing. And then he saw a guy walk by who was the guy that pushed the shopping carts. And he asked the guy, can you help me find this plumbing part? And the guy said, you got to ask her. And I cracked up. He had to walk right back over to me. I said, now you ready for me to help you? Yeah. So, it's just, sometimes you really have to just get over people, let them be who they are. And sometimes you have to get a little, tough. But, like I said, I'm used to working in that way.
Gotcha. Well, look, I don't have any background in food and building, but I can eat. And I've been eating for at least 10, 20 years. So I think that qualifies me for something. But I know we talked a little bit about you, but one of the things I wanted to ask you was, why did you decide to start your own business?
It was always something I wanted to do from the beginning. So it was time. I had always had a little application to have like the business application form. Okay. And I would fill it out and get ready to send it in, and never did over the years, since way back, since probably when I first started working. Okay. And I remember our first couple of my colleagues, friends now, back then, about 20 years ago, we were working at an engineering firm. I don't know if you ever heard of Fernoni Associates. We were working there, and we went to a networking event, Blacks Professional, and Black Professional Networking event. Oh, nice. We used to have every year. And we got business cards, and we had, we thought we were doing something. We didn't know what we were doing. So we all got business cards and put names on them. And I remember I was trying to think of a name to put on my card, and I put Urban Aesthetics on there. And they were like, why'd you choose urban aesthetics? And I always wanted to do something to improve Philadelphia. And that's where I came up with the company name. That was 20 years ago. I still have that business card. I found it before my anniversary party. So I always wanted to start a business. I always freelanced. I always used urban aesthetics when I freelanced. And so when it was time for me to start my business, it was just easy.
Jump
I didn't just jump in. You don't just jump in.
All right, well, tell us how. What'd you do?
I was working for a challenging architecture firm. I'll just put it that way. When I started working there, I told my friend that was working with me, I told her, I said, I'm only going to be here 2 years. And she thought I was out of my mind. I said, 2 years, I'm not working here any longer than 2 years. And I'll never work for another architecture firm again. Told her that. And she thought I was crazy. And at the time, I had a couple of friends that were trying to start their own business, but I had a website that I had. There's a way you can make a website private so nobody can't really see it. I had my website up with my company's information. So I did have a website. But I had a good friend, and she was an architect also, but she had started her own business, and she was showing me her LLC. And I was looking like, wait a minute. She got an LLC? If she got one, I can get one. I just went and got mine just like that. Then went and got business insurance, and then supervisor I had, he had his own business, and he helped me do everything. He helped me put everything together.
Nice.
By the time I was laid off from that company because the economy crashed, and by the time I was laid off, I had everything in place.
Nice.
We used to go to the same friend that had the LLC. We used to go to Borders and Barnes and Noble every day, and we would write out our business plan, compare it to one another, write it out. We were just sitting there. We would do that every day for a couple of months. And then we started networking and just trying to get out there and do things. And that's how it started.
Wow.
Well,
very nice.
And before we go, the one last question I have, but just it does sound like you jumped into it. But no, but anyway, the question is, as we close out, what advice would you give either to existing entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs? Now that you've been in it 10 years and they say the average business, it takes 3 to 5 years to make it, so that you've made it. Any advice you would share with the viewers?
Yeah, again, I did not jump into it. I went back to college. I took majored in business, took business management classes. I think that's one of the most important things to do. I took a business, when I first started my business, I took time out and I took a business development course for the entire summer just so I can understand the process of developing a business. Then for 6 months after that, I took another business development course and had an advisor. And then years later, I went back and got another advisor. You should always have a mentor or an advisor in this business. You should keep a group around you, a circle of people that, to me, I consider Dan-Buckner group and BDFS group, my circle, and Castellina Design Group, of course, my circle. And Naturally Neat Services, they're kind of all in my circle. I like to have a group of people in my circle that are,
It's all right. It's all right.
I like to have a positive circle of people to be around. And I just think that that's the most important thing, is to keep people in your circle that you can feed off of one another. You can work together, you can do things together. Always stay positive.
And that's really the whole premise behind the Everyday Entrepreneur. So that is a great way to wrap it up.
Absolutely. So I guess ultimately, do your research, do your homework. Don't jump in, maybe tiptoe in and out.
Just do it, but don't think you're just going to immediately do what you want to do. It has to develop
over time. Okay. Like it. See you guys later.